Good evening and welcome to APTN National News Weekend. I'm Sav Chonsa. We start in Winnipeg, where the trial of a confessed serial killer continues. Jeremy Skibicki says he killed Rebecca Contois, Morgan Harris, Mercedes Myron, and Buffalo Woman. Now the judge has to decide if this is an NCR case, not criminally responsible due to a mental disorder. On Thursday, court heard what the Winnipeg police found when they searched his apartment. A warning now, details in this report are disturbing. With more, here's T.R. Wheatley.
In court, it was revealed that the forensic identification unit that processed Jeremy Skibicki's apartment after his arrest back in May 2022 found DNA samples of all 4 women that Skibicki admitted to killing. But those aren't the only DNA samples. In total, there are 16 DNA samples of women, including 9 that haven't been identified yet. The Crown's lone witness was Winnipeg Police Constable Jan DeVries. He was the exhibit officer documenting evidence from Skibicki's apartment, the building, and the back alley. DeVries provided over 130 photos of the scene. They were discussed in court but weren't shown because of their graphic nature. Amongst those photos were clothing items of Rebecca Contois, Morgan Harris, and Mercedes Myron. A reversible jacket belonging to Buffalo Woman was also among the photos. Court heard this wasn't found in the apartment, but it was later recovered by police from a man who bought it off Skibicki on Facebook Marketplace. There were other items in the apartment with DNA of the victims: coffee cups, pillows, and mattresses. Police documented a total of 16 different female profiles. One of those samples was that of Ashley Shingus. She went missing in 2022. In January 2023, her father told the media that his daughter could be Buffalo Woman, and he gave his DNA to the police that ruled out Shingus as Buffalo Woman, so her identity is still unknown. Court has so far not heard anything from Skibicki himself about Shingus, but her DNA in his apartment is among the Crown and Defense statement of facts. DeVries also told court about the bathroom in Skibicki's apartment. Earlier this week, we heard that all 4 women were killed in the bathtub. DeVries said WPS used a visualization spray to process his bathroom. He told court the spray shows blood splatter that's been cleaned up and can't be seen with the naked eye. In his words, the bathtub was very fluorescent and that it covered the entire bathtub. Screenshots of Skibicki were also mentioned in court. They are from video surveillance of him throwing out garbage bags prior to the search of his place. As we learned earlier this week, the search only happened because a garbage salvager called 911. He was rummaging through the bins behind Skibicki's apartment when he came across some remains of Rebecca Contois. The Crown will continue to press their case for the rest of the week. T.R. Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
The charges have not been proven in court. For more on this trial, head over to aptnnews.ca for stories by our web reporter, Kathleen Martins. And if you are triggered by this report, supports are available 24/7 through the MMIWG support line. That number is 1-844-413-6649. And if you were at the Forks in Winnipeg on Sunday, you may have witnessed what some people are calling the largest turnout for the 4th annual MMIWG2S Walk for Justice. An estimated 1,000 people came out to show their support for the survivors and families of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people. Here's more on that event. As singers called out the names of missing and murdered Indigenous people, supporters danced in a circle while holding hands with strangers. But though the crowd of roughly 1,000 people might not all know each other, many share a similar story of a loved one gone too soon with no answers. Lindsay Chartier says it's a blessing to be around community, even if the circumstances are sad.
Yes, every year it keeps growing, and us as Indigenous people need to unite and be kind towards each other and have more love and compassion, and like it's so beautiful. Like, why wouldn't you want to be here?
Winnipeg's 4th annual MMIWG2S Walk for Justice is taking place during what some may call a pivotal moment for the MMIWG2S movement. Just days prior, the governments of Canada and Manitoba announced a partnership to create what they call a Red Dress Alert. The pilot project will notify Manitobans when an Indigenous woman, girl, or Two-Spirit person goes missing. It's good news to filmmaker and MMIW survivor Jody Lee Pacey.
Finally, I think finally, it's about time.
Pacey says there's still more to be done for those living with trauma.
There should be more supports for survivors too.
What kind of supports do you think of when you say that?
Like therapy groups, like support groups, like specifically.
Last week began the trial of an alleged serial killer who is charged in the deaths of 4 Indigenous women. Mercedes Myron is one of the few whose remains are believed to lay in a landfill just north of Winnipeg. Myron's sister Jordan co-organized the event.
This next month is going to be extremely hard for me and my family as well as the other families. So to have all the support is just amazing, and I love that how many people come out time and time again to support us. It's very great.
Chartier says the event is a great place for the community to share their voices of sorrow and hope for justice.
There's a lot of people that don't get justice. They don't find their missing ones. And I hope they're able to get through it with coming to things like this.
Sav Jonesa, APTN National News, Winnipeg. The Manitoba government announced a new $15 million endowment fund to support MMIWG2S families to mark last Sunday's Red Dress Day. It will be run by the Winnipeg Foundation, and funds from that endowment will be used for families to be able to access the services, care, and support that they need. Organizations that are Indigenous-led and working with MMIWG2S families can also expect help from the endowment. Manitoba Families Minister Nahani Fontaine says the goal is to see it grow from 15 to 50 million, with donations from the public, businesses, and corporate entities. The initial investment is expected to generate up to $750,000 per year, which will be paid out in grants.
The range of supports that families need vary. Some family members want to be able to go to school. So they need, maybe monies for books or tuition or daycare, whatever it is. So it's a wide range of supports that this endowment fund will be able to support.
Red Dress Day brought the issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and Two-Spirit people to the forefront of Canadians' minds. Saskatchewan held walks to honor those who are no longer with their families leading up to the day. Our reporter Rachel May spoke with local organizations about the importance of Red Dress Day.
Well, first of all, it starts with not denying that issue is there. It's there, it's relevant, it's something that's happening every single day.
Sindel Kozar is a support worker at the Margaret Riel Centre in Melfort. The centre helps anyone needing support with mental health, homelessness, addictions, or parenting issues. Last Friday, the centre organized an event to honor those who went missing and lost their lives. Crystal Mann is the wellness coordinator for the centre. She is proud of the work they do to keep women safe.
Learning and educating and getting better mental health services for themselves to eliminate that chance of being vulnerable.
The Prince Albert Grand Council held their Red Dress Day events this weekend at the Riverbank in Prince Albert, where there are acknowledgements and monuments for missing and murdered Indigenous women. The council's Health and Social Development Director, Shirley Woods, says to address women losing their lives, we need to address the underlying issues.
When we're seeing increasing drug use, which we know definitely impacts violence in our communities, we know that poverty does. People's economic situations, and so it's a much larger issue that we have to look at it more holistically, and just to be aware of that.
Dorothea Swiftwolf is the Saskatoon Police Service's missing person liaison.
Keep in mind when we talk about our missing and murdered loved ones, that's somebody's heart, somebody's spirit that we're talking about, and that family's walking through life without that piece of their heart and spirit.
Swiftwolf says the most important thing to remember is that all of those who were either missing or murdered are part of someone's family. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
Thanks for that, Rachel. We are going to take a quick break now, but we'll see you when we return. Welcome back. A red dress vigil was held in Ottawa on Sunday. It was hosted by the Family of Sisters in Spirit. A feast and a giveaway was part of the event. Here's Annette Francis with that story.
Red dresses line the walkways of Strathcona Park along the Rideau River in Ottawa. In spite of the wet weather, families are here to support each other.
Come and eat, come and have a bite.
Bridget Tolley has been organizing these events for decades.
Because we honor and remember our stolen sisters. One of our stolen sisters is also my mother. She was struck and killed in 2001 by the Quebec police. So we try to do our best to honor and remember our sisters, plus help the families and give them strength to continue to fight for truth, accountability, and justice.
It's the second red dress event that Ottawa City Councillor Stephanie Plante has attended this week. She says it's a reminder that there's a lot of work left to do.
We know Manitoba had their red dress alert system put in place yesterday, but it's not enough, and these kinds of issues will continue to be problems, and it will continue to be problematic as long as we don't take corrective action. Now, at the municipal level, we did the Annie Puruguk Park, not far from here, in 2021. We will have the Mary Papatsi Park, hopefully by the end of 2024. And, you know, we're always in conversation with our federal and provincial counterparts as to what we can do at that level as well.
There was plenty of food to eat, crafts, and red T-shirts to be given away. Colleen Hill-Cardinal says it's a way to come together to build community and honor feast loved ones.
My late sister, Gina, was killed in 1990. My sisters and I we were 60 scoop survivors, and my sister had a hard life as a child, and you know, a lot of what we've been through as children has led us to be vulnerable as young adults, and I think it directly led to her being murdered.
Annette Francis, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Indigenous students at a Halifax university hosted a Red Dress Day event as well. One of the key speakers was the daughter of Anna May Akwash. Angel Moore has the story.
Red dresses marked the May 5th event. Student and artist Peggy Fair handed out miniature versions to the crowd. She is from the Degodi Dechadin First Nation in the Northwest Territories.
I made little felt dresses to represent the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, and so that we can all keep it close to our heart.
The Indigenous Student Center team at Mount St. Vincent University hosted the event. Denise Picto-Maloney spoke to about 30 people who attended. Maloney is an activist and says,
"We're tired of trying to fight for our basic, inherent right to survive."
Maloney is the daughter of Annie May Pictou Akwash. Akwash was murdered in South Dakota in 1975 by members of the American Indian Movement. The high-profile case was one of many that led to the MMIWG report and calls to justice. Maloney says 5 years later, after the report, the calls to justice are still not implemented.
The formula's there, the steps are there, you just need to implement them. And the arguments over who has the responsibility to do it and who's accountable for that's a big tale of how minimalists our women have become in this country and how we are not priority, and we're high risk.
Fair also lost a loved one to violence. Her friend, Nicole Paddy, was 33 years old when she was killed by a hit-and-run driver 3 years ago.
Today was important to me because I myself have lost someone to the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls national inquiry. Her name was Nicole Paddy. Lost her in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and her murder is yet to be solved, so it's close to my heart.
Maloney believes women have the power to hold the government accountable and offers some advice.
So what women can do is start getting more vocal. I mean, I understand that it's risky to speak up, but if you are in places where you can tell people and encourage people to read, and to embrace those 231 and hold and write your MLAs, write your governments on what they're doing in protecting our women.
Angel Moore, APTN National News, Jabuktuk, also known as Halifax.
It's a day of reflection and action on the impact of systemic injustices for missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and 2S LGBTQ+ people. Our reporter, Charlotte Moore Jacobs, brings us more on last Sunday's Red Dress Day.
This sacred fire is lit in honor of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, 2S LGBTQ QIA+ people. Behind it, a monument dedicated to Inuvialuit, Dene, and Métis of the North, a symbol of the lives taken and the inequities that persist. A large crowd is gathering at the legislature in Yellowknife to honor Red Dress Day. Executive Director of Gender Equity with the GNWT, Sabet Biscay, challenges everyone to get to know the survivors and families.
When you know somebody better on a more intimate level, it's more difficult to be indifferent towards that person. Find out, get their names, find out about them.
Many carry signs, a reminder of the violence Indigenous women and girls face at home, in the workplace, and in the community.
It hits home for us because Charlene's a member of my husband's family, and when she was 15 years old, she went missing in and around Betchico, and there's still no sign, and we just wish people would speak up and tell what they saw, because somebody saw something, somebody knows something.
Executive Director of the Yellowknife Women's Society, Renee Sanderson, helped with a recent research report on unhoused Indigenous women in Yellowknife and the RCMP. It outlined how Indigenous women experience discrimination, distrust, underprotection, and fear in the community. Now, RCMP are on site to march with supporters.
We're working together and we're collaborating and addressing the issues that we brought up in the reports. I think we still have a long ways to go, but it's nice to see them a part of the community, and that's what we wanted from the beginning, to be a part of the community, to understand the challenges that our Indigenous people face.
Sanderson is remembering her cousin Amber Tuckaroo, who went missing and was murdered outside of Leduc. The family still has not found justice.
The families that were left behind, and to grieve and to wonder why.
She says more needs to be done to show vulnerable women and girls are valued and protected.
I think we need more supports. In the Northwest Territories, we don't have a treatment program facility, we don't have a trauma center. All the individuals who want to get help in dealing with their trauma or to go on that healing path, they're referred south. And I think being displaced from your family, from your support group, is challenging. We also need, adequate housing, affordable housing. A lot of individuals who go away for treatment, they come back and they don't have a place to stay.
The Red Dress event is concluding with speeches and a lunch at the Tree of Peace. Charlotte Moore-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
Learning land-based education through a computer game. We'll have a story for you on that after the break. The finalist for the $1 million season of Canada's Got Talent has been announced, and an Indigenous singer from Saskatchewan has made the cut. Following her emotional performance of Olivia Rodrigo's song Driver's License, Rebecca Strong of Prince Albert is moving on to the finale of Canada's Got Talent. Rebecca is one of 8 finalists moving on to the live finale May 14th. Viewers will have the chance to vote for who they think deserves to win the $1 million cash prize when it goes to air on City TV May 14th. And after 25 years, Manitoba First Nations Education Resource Centre is still finding ways to innovate learning. They debuted a land-based education program at their annual conference in Winnipeg, but instead of going out on the land, students will log in to their laptops. Here's more on that. It's been 25 years since the creation of Manitoba First Nations Education Resource Centre, or MFNERC. The organization provides educational services and support to 58 First Nations schools in the province. This week, they celebrated the milestone at their annual Lighting the Fire conference in Winnipeg for First Nations educators.
You know what, it's really a testament to the great work that a lot of our people have done over the past 25 years and more in education, in First Nation education.
Charles Cochran, the executive director for MFNERC, says a lot has changed since the organization's inception, except for its principals.
In the past, when the organization first started, it was primarily to look at support services, which is really our bread and butter today. But also things have changed. Obviously, times have changed, technology, but still looking at our foundations on our languages and cultures and traditions and values. So there's things that have changed, things that are still there.
As Cochrane points out, technology is a big part of children's learning in the 21st century. And MF NERC is staying innovative in how they adapt to students' interests, like land-based education through a popular computer game.
For me, it had Minecraft written all over it. I was like, this is an opportunity.
Carl Hildebrand is an education technology facilitator for Manitoba First Nations school system. It was his idea to turn Pemachewin, a key, a boreal forest and UNESCO World Heritage Site that covers part of Manitoba and Ontario, into a Minecraft map. It's an answer to concerns raised by teachers in Blood Vein River First Nation who collaborated on the project with developer Logix Academy.
Their teachers and their educators were having issues getting out on the land, and a lot of them aren't knowledgeable. They're not elders from the community. They're not knowledge keepers. So, they're scared to go out because they don't really know what to do, what to experience with the kids, right?
Students and teachers alike will learn how to trap rabbits and hunt moose with the game. And ongoing updates will bring new skills for players to harness. He mentions that though an Indigenous Minecraft map was developed by the Louis Riel School Division in Winnipeg a few years ago, this is something new.
We kind of took inspiration from that because that was a flagship map and the first of its kind. But this is the first time that First Nation communities really taking control over their own learning. They're developing this map to solve a problem in their community.
Kisikuinen educational assistant Evan Blackbird says it's fun.
It's good. I like that they have where you can talk to the elders and stuff in the game. Yeah, and then they give you their pointers that you need in that.
The elders Blackbird mentions are all actual elders in the Blood Vein River community who contributed their ideas to the project. The program will be available to students across Canada in September.
They learn quite a bit from video games, so I feel like if they're playing, then they're going to be, and then there's stuff to learn in here. Maybe they even might go outside and do it. So.
Sav Chonsa, APTN National News, Winnipeg. And that wraps up our weekend edition of APTN National News for today. For news anytime, you can check out our website at aptnnews.ca. Join us Monday afternoon for our new midday newscast, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central. I'm Sav Chonsa, and from all of us here at APTN News, thank you so much for joining us today.